So, who is Xaku? What is Xaku? Xaku, they are fantastic. They are an amalgamation of 3 other frames that were released in the Deimos update. You get their blueprint from the Harder Deimos quest, and you can farm their blueprints for their neuroptic systems and chassis from various bounties on Deimos. Note that they do require Graphimag, which is from Fortuna, and is technically something that you only get access to after getting max standing in Fortuna, which is kind of sucky. Xaku is incredibly interesting. I love them. Okay, so first off, I guess I should say that I don't have Zaku's first ability, Zada's Whisper. This imbues your attacks with extra void energy, so for your weapons. So your melee, your primary, and your secondary. And so the second ability is Grasp of Lock. Grasp of Lock disarms enemies and converts their weapons into your own weapons that fire autonomously without you, which is super cool. And this ability scales off of strength mods and range mods. Range controls how many weapons you can disarm at any given time, and of course the overall reach of said ability. The third ability is the Lost. So this is an amalgamation of, I guess, pre-existing abilities from the 3 Warframes that they were infused with. So the first one is Accuse. This is a radial mind control. It converts enemies into allies and makes them fight for you. The second ability is Gaze. You can have 2 of these up at any given time, and this will strip defenses from enemies, so armor and shields. You can have 100% strip with this, but in order to accomplish that, you need to have 200% ability strength. And the third ability is Deny, and this one scales with your Grasp of Lock, doing more damage for the number of disarmed guns that you have currently in your arsenal. So all of these abilities scale off of strength and range. And so having more range in general is a thing that you really want to have with Xaku. The next ability is the Vast Untime. The Vast Untime is Zaku's ultimate and has a really interesting mechanic where if you use this ability, it'll pause the cooldowns on Zaku's other abilities, assuming that you haven't subsumed. So any subsumed ability like Shooting Gallery is not affected by the Vast Untime, but Grasp of Lock and the Lost will continue to exist with pause durations rather, as long as the Vast Untime is active. So what you end up doing is, at least what I end up doing, is using Grasp of Lock, and then, you know, setting things up with Gaze, if I want to, but mostly Grasp of Lock, and then I go into the Vast Untime to pause everything, and that way I just kind of only have to worry about the Vast Untime as the primary energy consumer, since I can literally go like 5 minutes without having to recast any of my other abilities if I'm using the Vast Untime. The Vast Untime also will increase the evasion rate to 75%, so bullets won't hit you as easily. And it offers a slow, which scales off of ability strength, and it also makes enemies who are hit by shrapnel more affected by void damage, which, you know, stacks considering that every single one of these abilities kind of has void damage as a part of it. Grasp of Lock, the guns will shoot void damage. Deny shoots void damage. Zada's Whisper will increase if you have it. And Zaku's passive is a base 25% damage reduction on AoE attacks and chance to avoid incoming damage, which again, the incoming damage, the evasion rate increases to 75% with the Vast Untime active when you're a spooky, scary skeleton. If you want a build, this is what I run. It's not exactly like set in stone by any means. I kind of still want to mess around with it a little bit more, but it's definitely functional. It's what I was using for the 5-hour survival run that we had done with Amadeus. Efficiency, since Xaku is a really greedy frame, and you kind of really want, like, pretty much all 3, like, pretty much everything at 100%, but that's kind of difficult to do, if not impossible. But if you're looking for a full armor strip, then you have to have at least 200% strength. If you're not looking for a full armor strip, then you don't need to have this much strength, but that if you're not using Accuse, then just know that less strength means that you have less Accuse targets that you can make. Range, though, you want as much as you can. Frankly, I would love to get more range on here, because Again, you have more grasp of lock targets, you have wider fields of control with Gaze, with the Lost, etc., and of course with the Vast Untime. At a full range build, you would have like 70 meters of Vast Untime, which is pretty ridiculous. Duration, I like to keep it at about 155%. I think that's a good duration length. It gives like 40 seconds of the Vast Untime, which feels pretty good when you're using this to pretty much take the place of the durations of these two abilities. And then I subsume Shooting Gallery because this works really well with the Vast Untime. The Vast Untime will be a soft CC with the slow, but Shooting Gallery's animation, the weapon jam, will be a hard CC with its animations elongated if you have a slow on. So they will take longer to get through their animation of the jamming before becoming unaffected. So having the Vast Untime, so striking them with the Vast Untime and then using Shooting Gallery afterwards will extend the amount of time that you keep them locked in place. So it kind of makes it like a semi-stasis. Unless you manage to get 100% slow on the Vast Untime, which is possible with enough ability strength. So you can get that with like a fissure buff or like an arbitration. Then I just have Arcane Strike because I personally don't like to put attack speed mods on my melees, and then Arcane Energize just to compensate a little bit more for that efficiency loss. And that's kind of it, because I use energy pads to start. This is not just like a Xaku thing, I just do this with like every Warframe at this point. And so if you don't have energy pads, like, I mean, that's valid. But I do. So yeah, I currently have my, we're gonna use Gaze. This will give Armor Strip in a radius. And I personally like Shooting Gallery as well, because it has a damage buff and has an extra little CC component that works in tandem pretty well with this. That is Xaku's Grasp of Lock, the second ability. This disarms targets and converts their guns into your own personal weapons. This ability kind of has infinite scaling because it is based on the level of the enemy that you steal it from. So if you're on, you know, like a survival or an endurance thing, this is why my Xaku turrets will 100% be able to just like deal with acolytes by themselves. Again, this one has more that you can steal from if you have higher range. So the more range you have on Xaku, the better. Well, yeah. So you tap the one ability. So you would tap the 3 to cycle it, and you press and hold unless you've inverted this for whatever reason. And then you press and hold it to cast. So the first ability that is castable is Accuse, which is the mind control. The second ability, which is what I currently have it cycled to, is the Gaze. And now we'll just put a Gaze target down again, strip all their defenses. Note with the armor stripping, sometimes people don't necessarily want to go for a full strip. That's because then they'll lose the status buff, or I mean the status debuff. Should we say status buff? They'll be less prone to a particular status type. So, for instance, if you're fighting Grineer and you full strip them, they will no longer be like corrosive will no longer be super effective against them because they won't have ferrite armor, which is what corrosive is strong against. I believe they turn into Bioflesh, which would actually make heat more effective against them. So that's why sometimes you'll have people that aren't going for like full strip builds and only go for like, you know, like 80 or 70% instead, so they can still get the effectiveness. Kind of the same with like Eidolons, how you don't want to like full strip their armor, but you we'll see people like using like the Sarpa or something for Sharded Impact if they're like by themselves to get to like that 75% point. So there's still some of that radiation armor, but you'll do kind of more damage because it's lesser than it was before. But see, I just tend to run Toxie Slash or Heat anyway, so for me, a full strip doesn't like bother me. I'm like fine with it. And it also combos well with the damage from the beautiful little aggressive lock. Oh, there's our Acolyte. Let's have some fun. Hey, friend. Bye, friend. Yeah. 2 can play that game. Bye.